Hello, welcome to the Tri-County COVID-19 update for Thursday, June 3rd. The counties Peoria, Tazewell, and Woodford counties are reporting a to-date total of 45,477 cases. Again, that's 45,477 cases. That is an increase from the previous week of just 86 cases in the Tri-County. The last time we saw less than 100 new cases in a week was July 2nd of 2020. Overall, we have no new deaths to report today, but the Tri-County is reporting 744 deaths to date, including 9 additional deaths over the past week. 98% of our cases are considered recovered, 0.2% are at home and isolating, and 0.05% are currently hospitalized. Again, to give context, the 7-day and 14-day averages for the Tri-County now sit at 12 and 20 cases daily, respectively, which is a decrease from 27 and 37 from the previous week. Regarding our hospital systems, OSF St. Francis Medical Center, Unity Point Health, Central Illinois, we're reporting 26 non-ICU beds in use and 7 ICU beds in use. The hospitals are also reporting 1 death in the past 24 hours. The hospital data for ICU and med-surg continue to decrease as well, with a 7-day ICU average of 12 and a med-surg average of 35. This is again a decrease from 13 and 38 the prior week. We will continue to see this trend decrease as we recognize that hospital data tends to lag behind our case counts. Yesterday, the governor spoke about regarding our move to phase 5 next week, and based on our case counts as well as our vaccination rates and our hospital utilizations, we consider this very much likely for our community as well. We're trending in the right direction. Currently, we have approximately 40% of Peoria County residents are fully vaccinated, and 39% of Tazewell County and 38% of Woodford County. For Peoria County specifically, data from last week shows a huge increase in the number of first doses, specifically for the age range of 12 to 19-year-olds, with over 1,000 first doses just for 12 to 14-year-olds in 1 week alone. We do still see the need for continued vaccinations in certain zip codes within Peoria County, specifically the 61605 zip code and the 61603 zip code. 61605 currently sits at 18.6% fully vaccinated, and 61603 sits at 22% fully vaccinated. Majority of our zip codes in Peoria County are sitting well over 40% fully vaccinated. Next week, we do move into phase 5, which no longer has capacity requirements for various businesses and entities. To speak more to this is Chris Setti, CEO of the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council.
Well, thank you, Monica. I appreciate an invitation. It's been a few months since I've had a chance to speak at one of these press conferences. She dared me to say that starting June 11th that we can party like it's 2019, and that is true to some degree, right? The good news is that restrictions from a regulatory framework are going to be lifted on June 11th, assuming that things continue to happen, at the course that they are at the moment. The reality is that we still this virus still presents a danger. Americans, we still have to take this very seriously. That while there may not be business restrictions, that doesn't mean that we as individual consumers shouldn't still be aware of how our actions impact the business community. And so it's really important that people continue to seek out those vaccinations, continue to make good choices when it comes to being in large crowds, and make sure that you're feeling comfortable so that everybody else can feel comfortable. What we wouldn't want to obviously happen is for another surge to happen and find ourselves, back in some sort of other regulations that restrict business activity. Because the last year and 4 months have been really difficult on our business community. especially on the hospitality industry, as we have seen, restaurants and bars, hotels really impacted either by regulations prohibiting them from being open or just the general mood of the populace about not traveling or not, being taking advantage of some of those things. I hope that people get back, to living what was their normal life and feeling comfortable. That only happens, though, when we continue to see those vaccination numbers rise and the infection rates decline. My advice or my plea, I should say, maybe to the consumers of the patrons of restaurants is to offer a little grace to the places that you go to. We know we're seeing a struggle at the restaurant industry of attracting a workforce that can sometimes lead to less than the ideal service or the thing that you might expect. And I would just ask people to just have a little patience, a little grace, understand that everybody's getting back into the swing of things at the same time. These things take a little bit of time. And just because you had to wait a couple extra minutes for your meal or weren't served in the way you are accustomed to being served doesn't mean you have to go out and write a negative review or be angry or be hostile towards your server or the business owner. Everybody's kind of working through this at the same time. But it's time for us to get back, to being, productive and involved and engaged members of this community. I'm excited to see like a Tailgates and Tallboy concert tonight that's out at Louisville Slugger, because that's really an opportunity so we can actually see crowds together again and enjoying all the great things that this community has to offer. So I'm happy to take questions now, or if you have questions for Monica. It's obviously been a trying time for our business community, not just the hospitality industry, but all of our businesses who have tried to adapt over the last 14 to 16 months to different atmospheres, working from home, conducting business via Zoom, having social distancing on the shop floor, having your business restricted in its hours or its spacing. All of these has been difficult. And of course, we've seen the impact it's had on the economy as people have lost their jobs and are now trying to get back to work. I would be remiss if I actually didn't thank Monica and the team here at both the Peoria County Health Department, Peoria City County Health Department, as well as Tazewell Woodford Health Departments and all of our public health leaders. They have really been an amazing voice throughout this, providing facts and data to really help guide the business community. What businesses hate more than anything else is uncertainty. And I think that Monica and her team have really helped to provide certainty in a very uncertain time. That doesn't mean they always had the answers. They didn't always have the answers that people wanted to hear, but they were always forthright and honest and did their best. And I think that the business community owes the public health professionals a debt of gratitude for those efforts over the last almost 2 years. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can have Monica back up here because she really knows what she's talking about.
Have you talked to any business owners lately about this June 11th date? And can you talk about, if you have, can you talk about what their feelings are getting ready to do this?
I haven't spoken to any other than folks at the Civic Center who are really excited, obviously, that they could start booking concerts again. The real impact is on events, I think, and then the kind of the follow-on that happens from events. Restaurants obviously can go up in capacity, and I think that will be great for them. They've got other issues with staffing, so the idea that now you can have potentially twice as many customers in your business might be almost onerous to some degree when they haven't had the ability to hire the staff that they need to accommodate that. But I know in talking with Rick Edgar at the Civic Center, John Morris at the Peoria Riverfront Museum, Rebecca Schulman at the Children's Museum, they're all excited to see people back there, serve and watch people enjoy. And I think that's what they're really looking forward to, is being able to get back to what they do as business owners and as organizational leaders, is to put a great product in front of people so that they can enjoy it. So I know that the Civic Center is super excited to be able to have, and they've already started to announce concerts that'll be happening.
And you mentioned taking actions that positively impact the business community as people get more into these events and different things. What would your advice be to not negatively affect the business community? And is that different for vaccinated versus unvaccinated people?
You know, I think every business has the right to try to figure out how to navigate this next few months, right? So some businesses are still going to require masks. Don't be mad about that, right? You don't have to, assert your individuality. If the business has the right to demand that you wear a mask, if that's what makes them feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable, if you're going into a business that isn't requiring masks, but you feel that you should be wearing a mask, either wear a mask or walk away. I think it's everybody's choice here. But I think what we have, as Americans, we have come to have this sense of entitlement that the way we want to act is the way that everybody else should allow us to act. And I don't think that's true, particularly in this case. And so, not being hostile and just recognizing that everybody's trying to kind of figure this out together. I can't tell you how many times I keep my mask in my pocket, and I walk up, and if I see a sign on the business that says masks required, I put my mask on. And I just think it's going to take a little bit of time for everybody to kind of figure this out. And you don't know what's going on behind the counter. You don't know if that business owner is immunocompromised, has small children, has an elderly parent that's living in their house. And so I just hope everybody just has a little bit of grace in how they deal with the business community.
The last one I have for you is, to your knowledge, as more people are getting vaccinated, are we seeing some of these work shortages, kind of these positions getting filled as we prepare, as we talked about for next week for the reopening?
We saw an increase in, we saw a decrease in unemployment in the April numbers versus the March numbers, and those numbers came out last Thursday, the local numbers for unemployment. So we saw an increase in jobs and employed persons. So that was good news. We know that many of our businesses, hospitality industry and others, are still seeking employers, and it may be a while before all that shakes out. There's a variety of reasons, I think, that we're seeing those problems. Some of them that people aren't willing to go back into public settings, depending on their own personal views or health status. Anything? All right. Thank you very much.
Open up to any questions. Okay. I will actually echo one last point, because I think it's Chris made a fantastic point about just having grace and understanding your own self. We are getting a lot of questions from the public in general about their own ability to come back into kind of different activities, events, and kind of echoing that it's going to be kind of a self-decision. You're going to have to look at your own health status, the family around you, all those questions, but there's a lot of anxiety around there. So, we've always talked about the respiratory health issues, and we've talked about isolation when people were at home. I think there's now another level of anxiety in our community about coming out of this. And so, again, for individuals, there's a lot of great mental health and behavioral health resources in our community. And so, call 211 if you're looking or seeking out some of those services, because it is going to be really difficult how we come back to normal and what those steps are. And it's a valid feeling and a valid emotion and a valid health need, that type of anxiety about kind of returning back to some normalcy. So,
I just have one question about, in that returning to normal area, tailgates and tall boys, like he mentioned, is back this weekend. It feels like one of the bigger events that have happened since COVID. Can you just talk about, kind of along the same lines, if someone's vaccinated, should they feel completely safe going to that, getting back in the community in that way?
Well, I'll first begin by saying that the event actually worked with the health department in terms of capacity requirements, screening, cleaning, all of those aspects. So I think that's the first step, is a lot of our events are seeking out guidance, reviewing their policies, even their programming with us, which is great. And we're more than happy to do that, because then it kind of builds not only that trust for the patron to go to that event, but also for us to understand that this is an event that's really seeking to be positive in the community. For an individual that is fully vaccinated, that means you're 2 weeks out from your second dose, or if you had Johnson & Johnson, your singular dose. The likelihood of you getting COVID-19 and transmitting it to another individual is very low. Now, there are things that play into this, such as you have a health condition, for example, being immunocompromised, transplant recipients. All of those are things that will change that risk for you. But overall, a general healthy individual that's fully vaccinated can go and enjoy the outdoor event this weekend and other events. That's part of going back to normal. If you do have concerns, that goes back to, I think, what Chris mentioned, that personal decision. And in those cases, maybe sit this one out. Maybe wait a few more weeks, get more people vaccinated in your communities. As I've mentioned before, I have 2 small children, so I do like to attend these events, but you'll see me most likely masked or say no, just because I know I still have individuals that are not eligible to be vaccinated yet in my household.
So I actually do have a question. It seems like every presser that we have, you guys are echoing how important it is to get the vaccine, and now we did have an increase of younger people getting it, but we're still, Peoria County specifically, still at that 40% mark. Do you have any insight on what the holdup is for, why we're not above 40% right now? Is it still vaccine hesitancy, or?
I think right now the 40% where Peoria County is and why we're not seeing it at 50 or 70% is a variety of reasons. A lot of people are waiting. There are individuals that have been recently tested positive or under quarantine that are waiting to make sure they're out of that type of period before they're able to get a vaccine. There are individuals that are just, making sure that they've communicated with their physician. They may have health conditions. They want to make sure that's all in check. I don't think we have a lot of just no's out there. I think there is a percentage of the population that's just, I don't want to get a vaccine at all. But the majority of the individuals are hesitant. And sadly, some people are just kind of like, oh, I forgot. I was going to do that and I didn't. And that's why I highly recommend the health department here. We have walk-ins Monday through Friday from 9 to 4. Please, if you're driving by, hop in and get your vaccine. We have all 3 available here at Peoria County: Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson. And so we just recommend that when you do a to-do list over the week, get your COVID vaccine, and just remember to stop in and get one.
I just want to specify, is that 40% number including adults that are vaccinated, or does it include all Peoria citizens?
So the state website that issues the percentage, that's 40% of your total population. So that does include a population base that's not technically eligible. Okay, great. Well, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.